Still flying solo, huh? My wife's a beautiful secretary, nothing like you, a dropout from a poor family.
30 years since we last met, and my old classmate John immediately starts looking down on me. In middle school, I was the only one who couldn't continue to high school, so I get why he wants to brag. He obviously wants to spread the word that his wife is gorgeous and a real go-getter at work. If my family hadn't been pooey, I wouldn't have had to work right out of middle school, and I could have gone to a better high school than John. In that sense, I was a loser back then. Just then, a woman in a navy blue suit comes back with food on a plate. So she's the beautiful secretary John is so proud of.
Let me introduce you, this is my wife, Mary, beautiful, isn't she?
She could be considered pretty, but her makeup is a bit much. Mary starts trembling when she notices me. My name is Tyler Smith. I'm 35 years old. I'm the president of Smith Construction, a company with 7,200 employees. Hearing this, you might think I've had a privileged, elite track. But in reality, it's been nothing but bitterness and hardship. First off, the home I grew up in was incredibly poor. Shortly after I was born, my father disappeared, and my mother was left to raise me on her own. I don't remember ever having snacks, and a treat would be the rare occasion when my mother made fried bread crusts for us. Without school meals, I probably would have collapsed from hunger on my way home. Can you imagine, in this supposedly wealthy country of the United States of America, there were children always hungry? I never got any games either, so I naturally took to studying whenever I was bored. Perhaps as a result, I was always at the top of my class since elementary school. My teachers remembered me fondly, and I could forget the hardships of poverty while at school. Even after starting middle school, I excelled academically and was respected by other students. I was recognized for my leadership and served as class president and student council president, leading to a fulfilling school life. That changed at the end of my second year of middle school when it was time to decide my future. Both my mother and my homeroom teacher looked troubled. Despite having the grades to easily enter the best high school in the prefecture, I couldn't advance due to our family's poverty. Tears in her eyes, my mother pleaded with the teacher.
Can't something be done? He loves studying, and he's good at it.
It's too cruel to deprive him of his education just because he was born into a poor family.
I know a construction company president who actively takes in students who have had to struggle through school.
How about I place Tyler with him? He can work while completing his high school diploma through correspondence courses, said the homeroom teacher. After hearing this, my mother pondered for a while.
Construction.
I've heard it's a tough field. I doubt he'll have time to leisurely study. It seems impossible to keep up with his studies amid daily business, she replied.
It all depends on Tyler's effort.
It certainly requires perseverance and hard work, but it's not impossible. The president is a passionate and respectable person. Why not trust him? Thanks to my teacher's encouragement, I ended up taking a job at Smith Construction. Meanwhile, everyone else went on to high school. At that point, I was decidedly on the losing side. There was a guy who smirked as he watched my life unfold. It was John White, my academic rival since elementary school. John's mother was very keen on education, except for New Year's. He was always studying. In elementary school, I was also quite interested in playing around, so I wasn't always scoring perfect marks, and John would be the top of the class. However, things changed in middle school. I still had hope for the future then and wanted to go to college to learn more. Once I started studying seriously, I quickly surpassed John, and during middle school, I never relinquished the top spot. We even aimed for the same school, the one with the highest academic standards in the prefecture.
So, you want to attend the same high school as me, but do you even have the money to go there for 3 years?
His words struck a painful chord, and I had nothing to say in return. This matter has always been buried deep in my heart. Talking about it to my mother would only make her sad, and other adults couldn't offer more than sympathy. Everyone else seemed to naturally look forward to high school life, but for me, it was just a bright, unattainable future. The only selfish request I ever made was, I won't go to college, but please let me take the entrance exams. I scored the highest in that year's exams, which ironically made it easier for me to accept my situation. After graduating from middle school, John went on to further his education, and I started working at Smith Construction. The construction industry is a male-dominated field, with loud voices everywhere. Mike Smith, the president of Smith, took me under his wing and trained me on the job when I was still clueless. When I first joined, I even stayed in a room at Mike's house. I managed to carve out time for studying at night, working hard on my assignments. Mike's wife was pregnant at the time, and they soon welcomed a new member to the family. A lovely girl, whom they named Sarah. Sarah grew very attached to me, and whenever I was away at work, she would cry loudly, searching for me.
Sarah really likes you, Tyler. She won't stop crying even when her dad holds her, but she smiles as soon as you pick her up.
I gained experience on the job site alongside other carpenters. But it soon became clear that I was better suited for tasks like calculations and designing, so I moved into an office role. I quickly learned how to work with computers and became quite valuable to the company. Before long, I graduated from a correspondence high school. That was a turning point for me, so I decided against going to college. After turning 30, I began to take on significant roles in managing the company. Having someone in management who knows the field can dramatically change the flow of work. It became easier to lift the voices from the field, and the management side could provide more detailed directions. The company's performance soared, the number of employees increased, and the company grew significantly. What started as a mid-sized construction company had now become a major corporation. By then, Sarah had turned 18 and was growing up to be stunningly beautiful, which was dazzling to see. We remained close, and Sarah began to develop feelings for me. Eventually, my feelings evolved from seeing her as a reliable big brother to I would do anything to protect Sarah. One day, Mike called me to a fancy restaurant and surprised me with a question.
Tyler, do you have a girlfriend right now, or is there someone you're interested in?
No, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm enjoying my work, I replied.
In that case, would you consider marrying Sarah? She insists she wants to marry you no matter what.
I'd rather have her with someone trustworthy like you than someone unknown, Mike suggested. As I hesitated, the sliding door at the back opened, and Sarah entered in a beautiful kimono. Realizing the situation, I straightened up and bowed deeply. Though we both had feelings for each other, I still wanted to make a proper proposal myself. Sir, please let me marry Sarah. I promise to make her happy, I said. Sarah shed a tear and murmured, thank you. And so, I married Sarah and took the Smith surname. I was prepared for some to be jealous, but nearly all the employees accepted us warmly. Having something to protect might really change a man.
Lately, there's a certain dignity about Mr. Tyler. Maybe it's the experience he's gained over the years.
It makes you feel safe to follow his lead, someone noted. It's gratifying that Sarah relies on me, and I feel our deep love every day. 30 years since I started working, I turned 45. It was a good time to take over as the second president of the company. A major land development project was underway in the central region of our state, and our company, Smith, was set to play a crucial role. That night, a networking event for companies involved in the county's land development was held in the largest hall of the hotel. I was attending with 2 other employees, heading to the venue. Inside the hotel's largest hall, men from the construction sector gathered, the room buzzing with energy. Not only were there employees from companies already involved in the development, but also many salespeople from companies hoping to get involved were present. This time, the event also welcomed families, and I spotted a few women who looked like the wives of construction company presidents. Sarah mentioned she might join if she finished her chores at home in time. The employees I was with quickly lined up at the sight of the buffet-style food. For now, I took a champagne glass at the entrance and slowly surveyed the room. Then, I locked eyes with a man whose face seemed familiar. His face broke into a wide smile, and he approached me rapidly.
Tyler, is that you? It's me, John. I heard you became a carpenter, but are you involved in this development project too?
It's been a while. I'm surprised you recognized me. It's been 30 years since we last saw each other.
I work as a sales director, so remembering faces and names is part of the job.
I've always been confident in my memory. You don't look too sunburned for a carpenter. He probably still thinks I'm working on site because I started as a carpenter. After 30 years, positions change and people move on. But in John's mind, time stopped when he beat me at middle school graduation. Since I was alone, he assumed I hadn't brought any family with me.
Still flying solo, well, can't help it, my wife's a knockout secretary, nothing like you, a dropout from a poor family.
30 years since we last met, and he immediately starts looking down on me. I was the only one from middle school who couldn't continue to high school, so I understand why he wants to brag. He obviously wants to spread the word that his wife is gorgeous and killing it at work. If my family hadn't been poor, I wouldn't have had to work right out of middle school, and I could have gone to a better high school than John. In that sense, I was a loser back then. Just then, a woman in a navy blue suit comes back with food on a plate. Oh, she's the beautiful secretary John is so proud of. Her suit is modest, likely because her position as a secretary doesn't allow for flashy attire.
Let me introduce you, this is my wife, Mary, beautiful, isn't she?
I glanced at Mary and smiled politely. She could be considered pretty, but she always seems to wear too much makeup. Mary starts trembling when she notices me. Thank you for the other day. It must have been tough since then, right?
I sincerely apologize for that time. Both the director and I have been reflecting deeply. And we were actually planning to visit you within a few days to apologize.
Hearing our conversation, John, realizing that Mary and I were not strangers, looked at me quizzically. What do you mean? Mary works for a trading company. There's no way she'd have anything to do with a carpenter like you.
What are you talking about? This man is the president of Smith Construction,
the leading construction company in the state. He's a major buyer of the products we handle, and I made a serious mistake the other day. Mary was actually the secretary to the sales director at one of Smith's business partners. John spoke as if she were the president's secretary, though her position was not that high-ranking. Recently, she arranged a meeting directly with me and the director, but due to a scheduling error by Mary, the meeting fell through. Mary bowed deeply.
I know this might not be the best time to ask. But considering my husband, could you give us another chance? I promise there will be no more disrespectful mistakes. Please, I beg of you.
Because of your husband. Well, I know him, but we're not exactly close friends, all right. But this time, please be punctual. Thank you so much, Mary continued to bow, nearly in tears. John was dumbfounded at first, but seemed to gradually understand the situation, turning pale.
Smith, that's a major company, you're the president there, how could a middle school dropout become a president at your age?
What can I say? It's all the result of hard work. Having started my professional life earlier than most, I've probably just put in more effort. Mary looked impressed.
Everyone is well aware of the president's accomplishments. Originally reputed for your capabilities, what stands out most is your high regard for the network of people you work with.
John's mood seemed to sour further. It must be frustrating for him to see his proud, beautiful wife being so deferential to me, whom he looked down upon.
So, are you married then?
Sure am. I get married when I was 23. How long have you and Mary been married, John?
Quite young to get married, I was 32 when I got married, we were both career-oriented, focused on our jobs.
A sort of power couple, then. Having financial comfort and a wife who always dresses beautifully, while both spouses advance their careers, is certainly something to brag about. Mary looked around nervously.
Isn't Mrs. Smith here? I've heard she's very beautiful. I've been hoping to meet her.
She should be here soon. I'll introduce you then. Just the mention of my wife being a beautiful woman seemed to worsen John's mood. But he probably thinks I'm just exaggerating because she's the wife of an important client. Just then, Sarah hurried in.
Sorry I'm late.
The kids just wouldn't settle down to sleep.
John and Mary were both surprised by Sarah's youth.
Madam, how old are you? I was surprised because you look so young.
I'm 30 this year. My wife was born the year I joined Smith. To me, it feels like I've watched her grow up and waited for her to mature.
My goodness, that's kind of like every man's dream, isn't it?
I couldn't help but feel a bit pleased and scratch my head in embarrassment. I then explained to Sarah, who had joined us mid-conversation, about John and Mary.
I decided I was going to marry Tyler from the moment I was born. I didn't want to dawdle and risk someone else taking him, so I married him as soon as I turned 18.
What a lovely story. Are your children big now?
They're still 5 and 3 years old. We wanted to spend some time just the two of us after getting married. So we traveled abroad and played golf, enjoying a long honeymoon period.
While smiling at Sarah's innocent words, I could sense Mary's unease. It might be because Sarah is visibly pregnant. Sarah loves elegant and chic fashion, and it's hard to believe she's busy raising small children. The jewelry, bags, and shoes she wears are all top-notch. She buys only limited editions of well-known brands, and her friends who like the same brands often envy her. Mary seems very interested in brand items, and she looked a bit down comparing her belongings with Sarah's.
I thought marrying John would mean a financially comfortable life. But his spending habits are so bad that I still need to work to keep us afloat. We've had to give up on having kids.
Mary said, biting her lip in frustration. Seeing Sarah tenderly caress her belly must be painful for Mary, especially if she gave up the chance for children for her career. While men can have children even at an older age, it's not the same for women. John, who had been listening to the women's conversation, looked displeased.
There's no point in bringing that up now, besides, you're just as bad with money.
Normally, if both spouses work, they contribute equally to the household.
But you keep spending on your motorcycle hobby, and I end up having to pay so much for being a beautiful secretary.
You're one to talk.
Buying unnecessary luxury bags and clothes. You don't need a new one every time a new model comes out. One is enough. At this, a marital argument erupted, and Sarah excused herself to fetch some food. As I finished the last of my champagne, I pondered over the life John had led. He went from the top high school to a prestigious university, landed a high-profile sales job, and married a beautiful wife. Without kids, he has more money to spend on himself than most. He used to enjoy making others envious with his stories. But meeting me again and realizing that the person he had looked down upon was actually living a happier life must have been a shock. This way of thinking, even if he surpasses me, will only lead to disappointment when compared to someone even more successful. I consider myself happy, but not because I compare myself to John. Happiness isn't about feeling superior by comparing oneself to others. I'm not a global billionaire, and I face plenty of challenges in my work. Feeling down by comparing oneself to the world's richest would be absurd. Since I'm here at this networking event, I'm looking for new opportunities. I was about to distance myself from John when he grabbed my sleeve and held me back.
Hey, Tyler, how about doing some business with my company? We tried expanding in Canada but failed. And now we're thinking of pivoting to local development projects.
I see. You took your eyes off the local market to focus abroad and missed the boat here. That was a big mistake.
We studied together back in middle school, didn't we? Now that we're adults, let's work together again.
It's astonishing how he could reach such a conclusion. I still haven't forgotten John's disdainful words, questioning if I had the money to attend high school for 3 years. And with me out of the picture, John must have felt a significant sense of superiority, since he would have been the top student. I think getting involved with me now won't do any good, and I don't exactly have a philanthropic spirit. Frankly, John's presence is just annoying. Sorry, but I'm going to have to decline. I don't see a pleasant relationship happening with you. John was speechless with a surprised what. It seems he never expected to be turned down.
Please, Tyler, don't say that. Honestly, my sales haven't been great lately, and if this continues, I might even get demoted. That's the last thing I want.
As harsh as it might sound, that's just your own capability. You would want to start a new deal with someone who's up for demotion because they couldn't improve their performance. Mary, who had been quiet until now, joined in.
I'm begging you too, if things don't improve, he might even be let go.
If John gets fired, we won't be able to live as we have been. What exactly did you do? With reluctance, Mary bit her lip and started to speak.
Actually, he had an affair with a client's wife. As a result, that couple divorced, and now a large amount of alimony is demanded from us. It has become known to the company, and he's barely hanging on by a thread.
Is that okay with you, Mary? I know you from our business dealings, and I understand your character somewhat. Aren't you really unable to forgive him? Mary, silent and frustrated, spit out.
I don't want to leave him just yet. It would give me a bad feeling. I plan to separate once he can manage on his own.
What, you're planning to divorce me? I hadn't heard anything about that.
I was standing a little distance away, listening to their argument. It seemed clear that there was no repairing their relationship, and I had no intention of obliging them by agreeing to a business deal. To avoid any further provocation, I quietly moved away from them and soon left with Sari. What follows is directly from Mary, as our professional ties continued. Various industries are involved in the urban redevelopment of the county, but John's company couldn't find its way into any of them. The reason was John's well-known scandal in the sales department. Believing the company's survival was at stake, the senior management decided to cut him loose. Being granted early retirement was a small consolation. His severance pay was mostly allocated to the alimony demanded by the husband of the woman he had an affair with, leaving John with almost nothing. Mary, having given up on him, filed for divorce.
There were happy times living with John, but I've drifted apart.
Fortunately, I have a job and no children, so I will focus on taking better care of myself from now on. Once proud of his high-earning wife, John was now faced with divorce and capable of living independently, which effectively cornered him. The division of assets from the divorce halved John's savings, and he had to sell his house. Unwilling to lower his previous standard of living, John was seeking a new job with quite high demands. However, positions that high up were scarce. The major miscalculation was not just this. Previously, their household income included Mary's salary, allowing them to live quite comfortably. But now, even if he earned the same salary, they would have to cut their living standards in half. Unable to secure a job, John moved to a cheaper apartment. Eventually, he quietly moved to another state, perhaps thinking it was the location that was cursed. No one, including Mary, knows what became of John after that. On the other hand, Mary is thriving. Initially, she deeply regretted not having children, but she regained her zest for life through volunteering. Invited by a friend, she became a supporter of underprivileged children and hopes to make a difference in their lives. Next year, she plans to visit these children in Africa. She has sold all the designer brands she once cherished and now lives minimally.
I am grateful to the president for giving me a chance to change my outlook on life.
Mary said brightly, her makeup lighter and her clothes simpler. I hear there are male employees who have taken quite an interest in Mary as she starts anew. It will be interesting to see what happens next. 3 months later, Sarah gives birth to a healthy baby girl. Now we are parents of 3 children. Their responsibility grows, but the children are an irreplaceable treasure. Sarah says she'd like one more, and I wholeheartedly agree. Having grown up in poverty, I could never let my children endure the same hardships. My health is crucial for that, as is working hard. Lately, I've especially come to understand what it means to invest dreams in your children. However, I want to be careful not to force them into directions just because I think they're right. Sarah is good at keeping an eye on me and will surely keep me in check. The county redevelopment project is progressing well. Currently, this area lacks adequate public transportation, so reliance on cars is unavoidable. Even going to the hospital, if you're physically challenged, requires driving a car. It's a widespread issue across the United States of America. In 5 years, subway lines and dedicated bus lanes will be developed, allowing people to travel to many places without needing to use cars. I hear that autonomous buses will also be introduced on a trial basis. More hospitals and caregiving facilities are planned to be built. We're working hard now, but we will inevitably age in the future. We're striving to make the city more livable for that time. For our children's future, we are doing our best with what we can do now. Looking up at a building under construction, I vow to redouble my efforts.